OSP versus Attorney General issue no yeguso ebrem latest update on yes case no the prosecutorial powers are say high court order say yes ye gini na free in na Attorney General hand over the cases and Parliament ababe vindicate the Attorney General mo say e kwan a OSP omofa so e passes a bill on OSP powers and as the prosecutorial powers no abusua ekwan a omo amfa suye omo de share nensa enti no Attorney General ewo ho kwan bia say and as High Court ewo ho kwan bia say say omo je the prosecutorial powers the free nensa na o share article 88 Attorney General and ewo ho kwan say any prosecutorial powers bia ebebe dinensa and OSP nenso o seek for authorization free the Attorney General if say or person or making move for any prosecution internet Parliament aba be vindicate the Attorney General and the High Court abusua enya asam keto akra mom yanko na yanko tie ensema so unsubscribe subscribe na hit on the notification bell so na any update be ebe drop no wonso wonsa ebetumi aka gossip politics TV so madam ase.
Because yesterday an Accra High Court claimed the independent prosecutorial powers of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, in the sense that now the Attorney General has been directed to take over all cases being prosecuted by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Some see this as a landmark, ruling, but it's not the finality to the matter. There's a Supreme Court hearing that may be the final determination of the fate of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. What are the indications on this, especially the 8 cases that are being prosecuted so far by the OSP? Who is going to lead the charge? And I want to start with Alaji on this. From where we sit, we are reading.
What can the rest of us say? Let's start with them.
Okay.
So you see, the whole file that I have before me is the Office of Special Prosecutor. These are the memos that were submitted to my committee in 2017 when the bill was introduced by the Nana Akufo-Addo government. And today I decided that let me go back and refresh my memory on the bills and various discussions. Because sometimes when I hear commentary, people seem to suggest that nothing happened. I mean, this thing, we didn't anticipate what was happening. So, but let's all agree that what the court did was to accept an invitation that was marked in the quo warranto application to interpret the Constitution. Okay, so because the High Court has no jurisdiction in interpretation of the Constitution, it's an exclusive jurisdiction of the court. The lawyers who sent the application knew that. So what they did was they couched an interpretation matter in the form of a quo warranto. They say, well, okay, Special Prosecutor, tell us by what authority you are prosecuting us. Quo warranto. Because the law says that, the Constitution says that it's only the Attorney General who has power to prosecute. Whereas Article 88, 3 and 4. And the court bought into it. And that's why all the stations are talking about it. So let me just give a brief background. Before 2016 elections, on this network, on other networks all over the country, the matter was, how do we deal with corruption in this country? Our good friend Kosindum. So, you want to deal with corruption? Separate the Attorney General's office from the The NDC said, oh, okay, to deal with corruption, we are going to establish a special unit within the Attorney General's office to be responsible for prosecution of corruption. The CPP, we are going to divide the powers. So, Minister of Justice is a politician. Attorney General is a technocrat. Leave him to do prosecution. He's not a politician, so he cannot be subject to political interference. MPP, no, what we need to do is establish an independent office of the special prosecutor, the independent prosecutor, that's what they call it. So it found expression in the MPP manifesto. So MPP won election 2016 and brought a bill. In introducing the bill in Parliament, there were many things that were said by Gloria Akufo. Some we vehemently disagreed. And one of, and myself, Yini, Ayerega, many others, Haruna Idrisu, all said that it was not going to be possible to break up the monopolistic prosecutorial power vested in the Attorney General by an act of Parliament. If you wanted to break it up, you needed to amend the Constitution. All of us unanimous. But in the absence of breaking up the monopolistic power, what do? You need an agency that will have the requisite independence in terms of operational independence, in terms of financial independence, and in terms of structural or even institutional independence to deal with corruption. So you needed to navigate the contours of Article 88(3) and 4. The mischief was, if you didn't have this agency insulated against political interference, the agency will just be like the Attorney General's office. The mischief is that Attorney General's office, because the Attorney General is the head of the office responsible for policy direction, and that evidence and history has shown that he lacks the capacity and willingness, political will, to prosecute his own. So we set about creating an agency. I mean, I say that civil society organizations, all of them, concerned citizens, like all of us sitting on this thing, contributed in bringing some conceptual clarity to what we wanted to do. But it was really difficult. And we have always known that Act 959 will be subjected to serious scrutiny. We have always known that. Which people is he going to deal with? Politicians and politically exposed persons. And they are the powerful in society. So we have always known that. And that there has always been the risk of challenge. We have always known that. So sometimes I say that, well, the fact that the act has even lasted 8 years is an achievement. Because, you know, when we're passing it, Raymond Atuba was the dean of the Faculty of Law, said this one will not even last 1 week after passage. The Supreme Court will strike it down. So now there is a matter in the Supreme Court challenging that. Let me state here that it was not, and I'm not defending Parliament, I was in that Parliament, 7th Parliament. It was not the intention of Parliament to take away the power of the Attorney General. You couldn't do that. So when you read the long title of the Act, Act 959, there exposes to you what Parliament wanted to do. That the special prosecutor must prosecute on the authority of the Attorney General. Is that in the Act? But Section 4 says that for the purposes of this Act and subject to Article 88(3) of the Constitution, the Attorney General shall give the special prosecutor that authority. So it circumscribes the discretion of the Attorney General. It makes it impossible for the Attorney General to refuse to give the special prosecutor the authority. So I asked myself, what was the court looking for? Because the law says that the Attorney General must give, and you are asking the special prosecutor to show authority. I thought that you have asked the Attorney General because the law says you must give. You must.
Inferior law. In terms of the hierarchy of the law,
yes,
the Act of Parliament is an inferior.
It's an inferior. I thought that in following the Act, you have said, oh, the Attorney General, have you given them a fiat? That has not happened. But the fact is, Attorney General's legal challenge is right. I don't take it away from him. And the question, like Kosipa has said, can an inferior law be used to circumscribe the power? No, you're not amending that. I'm not saying that. To circumscribe the power given to an Attorney General in the Constitution. That's the question the Supreme Court will have to answer. Can it be done? Can you statutorily limit the exercise of the discretion of the Attorney General? Can you do that? That's what Parliament did. Is it lawful? Can it be done? Has Parliament the capacity and authority to do that? Does it violate Article 88(4)? Does it? So this is the debate that we are confronted with. But I think, for me, and I've said it on the other platforms, as a lawyer, this is good news for those defending people, standing trial in court. It's also good news for Ken Oforiatta. Yeah. The institution that investigated me, that is prosecuting me, brought charges against me in court, has even asked for the charges to be served on me outside the jurisdiction, has now been mired in legal controversies. Its jurisdiction to prosecute me has now been challenged. Why should the American authorities listen to them? But even every lawyer knows that, if such a thing happens, I will run to court to say that, well, I think that this institution has no capacity to prosecute mine, and so American government should not mind them. Or the cases that are being prosecuted now. I'm not surprised that many of the lawyers are running to court and say, look, stay prosecution. Because what you might be doing in law, we say, might be brutal fulfillment. Just tender noise. Because if the Supreme Court says that, oh, special prosecutor has no power to prosecute, you have wasted our time and energy and resources for nothing. So stop. Let's abide the decision of the Supreme Court. So this is the situation in which we are. And barring comments that will make it prejudicial to the outcome of the case in the Supreme Court, I think that we are in times that are simply fluid. Things are going to change depending on the outcome of the case in the Supreme Court.
Uncle Philip.
Yes, I want to agree with that last point, that we are in fluid times. I was very keen when I got the notice that I'll be meeting my brother here today on this matter. I'm not a lawyer. He's a lawyer of many years repute, former minister. He was in the parliament that brought up the special prosecutor. Ghanaians have a lot of expectation. A lot of expectation. And look, no politician should joke with this matter. This is not law. Again, how this thing will go, they shouldn't joke. The fundamental position he began with, that there has always been this urgent craving of the people to see corruption being tackled in a decisive way. This has what has led us all these years in the Fourth Republic. President Kufuor set a fast track because it was something that people thought, okay, that situation where people go to court for indefinitely and nothing comes out, this is going to address it. We saw fast track. We saw all kinds of things. At the end of the day, people were not too convinced. Then we went. The FA of special prosecutor came up. We must get a special prosecutor. We must find ways of dealing with this matter. We should find ways. There has always been this case. By the end of the day, the people have to succumb to the higher wisdom of the learned professionals in the matter. But their expectations are not met. Until it got to a point where this thing became a serious issue. Like, he carefully enumerated to us. All the political parties had a view on it. Trying to address the same fundamental concern that the people had. Then, also rightly indicated, New Patriotic Party said, we will bring a special prosecutor. We'll set up a special prosecutor. He did out his job. Who should they go and choose as special prosecutor? Martin Amidu. A man who has a reputation as a no-nonsense man, who will stand up to his own government, whose principles nobody can shake him against. Expectations were high. We saw what happened. Martin Amidu resigned. Then came a next special prosecutor. Even within the same party that brought the special prosecutor, we saw the things that came. They said, oh, he's even a lawyer to one of the senior party people. He is this and that and the other. He had all kinds of issues. The man stood his ground. He got his position, and he was working. Then I said, okay, let's try this man. He came out to complain. I'm not being stifled of funds. I'm being stressed. People are not cooperating with me. He complained. People said, okay, let's give this man a chance. Change of government again. The cry for accountability is even louder this time around. To the extent that even the ruling party itself, its own people are warning them that, hey, if we don't see you prosecute people, you answer to us. So, yes, we see, action is being taken, all kinds of names are going around, oral is happening, this is happening, that is going on, they're prosecuting them. Then suddenly what starts happening? Now, the Office of Special Prosecutor, we are being told that even his status is of no foundation. Huh? By this time, then people to take advantage politically and start reading all kinds of things into it. So, even the, what do you call it? Is it Accountant General? Auditor General has been moved because somebody made a claim here.
Okay, abusuya we ni ensma ekoso ewo political highway so honorable Éxp0sé ni ono na yeten nka o chere say that time no na ono ankasa ewo parliament ona sa bill no na enye in the right procedure better must some jepene kokoti za ensem way ede emi aha gossip politics TV so medamase